What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel if you're a returning subscriber, and if you're new, what's up? In today's video, as you can see from the title, your girl is doing a new challenge. This will be actually my first challenge I've ever done on this channel, considering that I think my channel will end up being a year old this year. But I'm doing the mid-year book challenge, where basically I just answer a series of questions about the books that I've read in 2023. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get right into the video. So it's a total of 10 questions I'm going to be answering, and so I think the whole point of it is to like have just only one book, but I wasn't able to really do that. I have more than one book, maybe like in one category, or maybe like 2 or 3. I have actually one book in that actual category, but for the rest of them it is kind of like more than one, so I'm sorry about that, but I couldn't help myself. I couldn't just choose one. So for the first question, it says best book you've read so far in 2023. So for this one, again, I have more than one actual book. I ended up having a total of 4 books that I'm going to be talking to you guys about. One of them, I'm going to start with the first one that is actually not physically here. I ended up lending it to my aunt, so I don't have it, so I'll just put the picture of it right over here, which is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Yes, that was a 5-star read for me. I ended up reading that like very early on in the year. I want to say like in January or so. So yeah, I don't have it here with me. I love that book. That book, whew, it's crazy to say, because you know my memory isn't like a good 5 out of 10. Would not recommend. I'm gonna be honest with you, my memory is not that good, but you know, when it's a good book that you just love, it's like a 5-star read, you will always remember it. And Carrie Soto is Back is one of those books that I will always remember. So that's the first book that my top book of 2023 so far. The next book that I have that I actually read in, was it May or June? I'm not sure, but it is Scarred by Emily McIntyre. This is the second book in the Never After series. You guys, this book was everything I needed and then some. I mean, let's talk about the smut. The smut was there. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you're like new to this channel, you might not know. But if you're not new to this, you're true to this, then you know your girl loves her some smut. I do. Like at one point, one of my shelves was full of like erotic and like smut books. You know, I'm not ashamed of it. It's a collection, I will say that much, and this is definitely going to be on that shelf as well. I love it. Well, actually, I have all 4 of the books, the physical copies, even though I didn't find out till later on that all the books are actually on Kindle Unlimited. So if you by any chance have a Kindle, then you definitely can just, you know, go read it on there. But I have the physical copies, and this book, it's basically a Lion King reimagining. Well, you know what, the entire series is basically a reimagining of like the bad guys getting the girl, and technically the good guys being the bad guys and the bad guys being the good guys, if you understand what I'm saying. So that's pretty much what like the series is about. And so this one is like a reimagining of the Lion King, and I had a fun time. I realized from reading this that I really do like royal settings in romance books, like you know, a king, queen, things of that nature. I realized, because another book that I really enjoyed was also kind of set like that as well. So I really like that type of like, would you say it's a genre? I don't really know, but I just like that like premise of romance books or erotic books, if you will. But yes, you got the number 2 book coming in at Scarred with Emily McIntyre. The next book that I ended up loving this year was I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, which is a manga book. The story is by Yoru Sumino, and the art is by Idumi Kihara. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. This is pretty much what the cover looks like. Hopefully you guys can see the story and illustrator's name at the bottom. But yes, this is a beautiful and very sad manga book. It was so good. Your girl was getting teary-eyed, and I don't care. And I also read this early in the year. I read this around January as well. It's just really, I don't want to even like spoil it or anything like that. Like, I just feel like if you guys never read any like manga before, then you definitely should give this a try it out, and you know, see how you feel about it. Like, I think this should be your intro into manga because it is kind of, you know, different as far as like, you know, the reading format and stuff. So if you're like never read manga, I definitely think you should give this a try. It's so good. It's so good. That's all I can say. It's so good. And then last but not least, my favorite book that I read this year in 2023, which I actually just finished as of today, the very day that I am recording this video, is going to be none other than The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. 5 stars. I just finished this today. Girl, I had a big old smile on my face. I got teary-eyed at one point in the book. It was just so good. Oh my god. This is the second book that I actually read from this author. I ended up reading his new release that was this year, In the Lives of Puppets. I read that before I read this one, and that one also was good as well. I don't even want to talk about that because low-key I have to still record my June and May wrap-up, so I'll talk about that more in that video. But either way, either book you want to go for. You want to go for this one, you want to go for the In the Lives of Puppets. Whichever one, you're going to have a grand old time. So just choose whichever one you want to read and go for it, girl. It doesn't even matter. But honestly, this one was just so good. I love the characters. I love the kids. I just loved all of it. It's just so good. So you definitely should try to check this one out. This is 10 out of 10 would recommend. I would recommend all of my top books that I read this month. This year, because they're all 5 stars. So yeah. I also noticed that while I was picking these books out, that literally every book was like a part of a different genre. So I find that to be very, I guess I could say, proud of myself, because I really am just like usually like an erotic / romance reader. So to see that I have like this variety of different books that I read this year and that they're all 5 stars, I really like that, because again, I pretty much only really read erotic and romance. But to see that it's kind of like, you got some fantasy, some sci-fi, you know, some literary fiction, manga. So I'm really happy with the variety of books I read this year. And I will continue reading, because let's just say your girl's kind of in her fantasy era. So yeah. So going on to the next question, it says, best sequel you've read so far in 2023. Okay, so the best sequel that I've read so far in this the year will be, again, have to be Scarred by Emily McIntyre. This is the second book again in the Never After series. But yeah, this is my favorite sequel that I've read so far. Books besides Scarred that I've read that's like a sequel is my manga series. So one of my favorites that I read this year is going to be Blue Flag. I've talked about this in my previous like reading wrap-ups and videos. But I just have book 2 here with me because this is, of course, the sequel of, or the next book in the series. It's not really a series. If you know about manga, then you know. But I pretty much just, I was struggling. I was like, what books have I read that's really a sequel in this year? I came up with a blank. So then I realized Scarred is technically in a series. So this would be the second book. And I really loved it. And then Blue Flag. This is the second book in the series, so I loved it, and I love the entire series really. But yeah, so this question, I ain't gonna cap, it was a little iffy for me, because I got commitment issues. I stay reading the first book of something and then I go into a whole different thing. Because also, I forgot, I also read the Caraval series. Oh no, I read the first book and then I had the other 2 and I have not jumped into them yet. So these are the best books I can come up with that question. So okay, so going on to the next question, or the third question, it said new releases you haven't read yet but want to. Okay, so we're looking at this because I'm gonna be honest with you guys, your girl is not that up to knowledge about like new releases. Like, I'm usually the last person to find out when something's released, unless it's something like I'm just like, ooh, I'm itching for. I guess because a lot of the books that I typically do read are not like the whole you'll normally see like on booktok or, you know, stuff like that. I actually have the physical copy here of the other book that I would like to read that is also a new release. The new release that I would like to read this year is going to be Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Again, sorry if the lighting just, yeah. I got lucky enough to get this book, the actual physical copy, even though it is not the sprayed edges, which is very sad to see. But I really want to get into this. In fact, this is actually going to be my next read. As I told you guys, I just finished The House in the Cerulean Sea, so this is going to be my next read, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited just because so many people have talked about this and raved about this book, and usually I don't be letting like what other people like make popular and stuff really like determine what I should read. Honestly, this is the first time ever that something has been really extremely popular in the book community, and I'm like, oh my god, I really want to read it now. Like literally the first time. So I don't know. I think it was the cover too and the storyline, and again, like I said, I'm currently in my fantasy era, so I was like, okay, let me give it a try, let me see what's going on, and so here we are. But this is also a new release that I'm really excited to read and get into. So, and be on the lookout because your girl is definitely doing a reading vlog of this. And again, I'm sorry for the lighting. Okay, so as for the next question, it says most anticipated release for the second half of the year. The only book that I really came up with, because again, I'm not really as knowledgeable of new releases, but the book that I really want to get into, especially even though I haven't read the other two that come before it, would have to be Crossed by Emily McIntyre, which is the 5th book in the Never After series. Again, I have Wretched and Twisted, and again, they're also free on Kindle Unlimited, which is what I have. So definitely believe I'll be getting into those very soon, and I most likely will be reading Crossed. I'm really excited, so I definitely do see myself getting the 5th book, even though I haven't read the other two before it, but it's okay. So that's one that's really interested me, especially because again, it's on Kindle Unlimited, so I really don't even have to buy it when it comes released. I could just like wait till it gets released and then automatically download it to my Kindle and start reading. So that is a plus also. So also for the next question, it says favorite new author. It could be a debut or new to you. This is just an author that's new to me that I've realized as in this year I've really enjoyed his work. I again just read both of his books back to back, which I rarely do unless it's a series of some sort, which I think I did with the Never After series. I read Hooked and then I went into Scarred, but which I didn't even think Emily McIntyre is definitely going to be added into this. I was so busy thinking of this other author, but I would definitely say Emily McIntyre is an author that that would be, I can consider like a favorite new author of mine. Again, I love the books, I love the writing. So Emily McIntyre and also TJ Klune. Again, I finished House in the Cerulean Sea and In the Lives of Puppets, and I definitely I enjoyed them. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Also, he had another book, The Whispering Under the House, something along those lines. I don't know exactly the title, but I definitely plan on getting that book and reading that, as well as I've heard good things about that one too. So yeah, TJ Klune and Emily McIntyre have been my new favorite authors that I've read this year. Alrighty, as for the next question, it says newest fictional crush. Okay, so here's the thing about this question. Like I said earlier, I have really like broadened my horizon as far as like book genres, so I haven't been really reading a lot of like I mean I have been reading romances again, but it's just like I don't know, none of them have really caught my eye. Like the only person I could really say maybe Tristan from Scarred, but even him, like he's so in love with Sarah, he ain't checking for nobody. And he, like, you ever like the fictional character, but you be realizing like, dang, they really in love with that person they're supposed to be in love with, to the point that you, even though it's fictional, obviously it's fake, you just know you probably ain't gonna have a chance still with them, because I mean it's fake and all, but that love just seems so real and destined that you can't even mess with them like that. Like that's how I feel for Tristan in the Scarred by Emily McIntyre. Like it just wouldn't work. Okay, so I did end up finding like 2 books of books that I actually read like last year. So I'm sorry, this is not technically in the year 2023, but these are forever and will always be my favorite like top tier fictional book crushes. But it would be Zaph, Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. Zaph, I think about this man maybe a good couple days out the week. This man comes into my brain because he is just 10 out of 10. Like, this is my favorite book out of the Brown Sister series. He is my favorite guy out of the Brown Sister series. She's my favorite sister after Brown sister. Oh, I love Chloe too, and Eve. Honestly, I love all the sisters, truly, honestly. But Zeph, daddy. Period. Okay, I'm sorry. He is. And then the next book, or the next fictional character that I love so much is gonna be Alpha from Alpha by Tia Rain. I just love me a good fated mate series. Like I love a good fated mate storyline where it's like we are destined, or the person knows they're destined to be together. The one person knows, which is usually the guy, and he just lets her, like, he knows like we're gonna be together at the end because we're meant to be. Like, I just love a good fated mate series book. Love it. And this is exactly what this is. And Alpha, stop playing with him, please. I'm not even gonna get into detail about that. I just love Alpha, and you guys should probably know this because I've talked about him in previous videos. But 10 out of 10 for recommend. Okay, so the next says books that made you cry. So I came up with 2 books. Again, I have to put the picture up right here again because I don't have the physical copy. I have it, but I lended it out, which is going to be Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read this earlier this year in January, and I cried. Tears running, hyperventilating, crying. Not just teary-eyed, crying because something happened. I don't want to spoil it, obviously, but if you've read the book, you know what I could possibly be talking about. And I just love that book. Again, I gave it a 5 stars. 10 out of 10 would recommend. It was a great book. And then the next book that I got, and I'm thinking about this as far as like just crying, not just teary-eyed, but crying, like tears actually like came down my face, like not my eyes just getting watery. So again, Carrie Soto is Back. And then the next would be I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. This is also one that I cried to as well. Okay, so the next book, the next question I read, it says books that made you happy. I keep talking about this book, but the first book that I have for this question is going to be Scarred by Emily McIntyre because I liked the ending. I liked the whole entire book, but the ending really does put the cherry on top, wraps the gift, puts a nice bow tie on it. Like, that's what an ending really does for a book, and this ending I approved. I like that it wasn't just like a forced type of thing, like, oh, they didn't have like kids at the end, when obviously it wasn't like nothing about Trishan's character really, even though he had the relationship with the little boy, still we kind of like, it wasn't like a forced thing like, oh, at the end they get married and have kids, blah blah blah. Like, it was just a lot, it was very realistic to those characters, so I really liked that and appreciated that. And then the next book that made me really happy, again, I just finished it and I'm so high off this book, is gonna be The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Love the characters, love the kids. Author Lucy. Talia's my girl. Stop playing with her. Her and her shovel. If you know, you know. I love this book. Oh, that ending was so good. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I'm sorry. I'm just so happy. This made me really happy. I love the ending. I loved it. I love the entire book. Okay? It's really good. Okay, so then the next question, it says most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. Again, this is also going to be one that actually only has 1 book, even though I originally, the girl picked up like 5 books off my shelf. I did, but I was like, no, I need to only try to stick with 1 because that's the whole like challenge of it all, is just to pick 1. And it's going to be You Truly Assume by Layla Sabrine. This is what the cover looks like. Tell me this is not the cutest cover you've ever seen, please. Oh my god, I ain't gonna cap. I literally got this book because of the cover. Like, I read the synopsis and I was like, okay, it's okay, it's good. But the cover is really what sold me. And I was like, I'm getting this cover. I'm getting this book. So, yeah, that's literally why I got it. It's because the cover is so cute. So, yeah, this is the book. This is one of the, like, prettiest covers that I've gotten this year. And then I think the last question, it says what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Honey, I really just need to say my whole entire TBR. Okay, which is like 2 shelves full. Okay. We're not gonna talk about it, but yeah, so I guess the first book that I can mention is again Fourth Wing. I need to finish this by the end of the year. I will be, because I'm literally going to read this next, but yeah, Fourth Wing. And then the next books that I will say I need to finish will be the Caraval series. So I have Legendary and then Finale. I need to finish these because once I finish these, then I can hop into the next series, which is the Once Upon a Broken Heart and then the Ballad of Never After. I heard so many great things about this series, truly, honestly. And so with that being the case, I also heard that people say, oh, you should try to read the Caraval series because they're set in the same world. So that's why I got the Caraval series, even though I did read the first one and I enjoyed it, but I need to read those other two so then I can hurry up and hop into these, because I just keep hearing so many great things about the series. And I also heard how the third book is coming out later this year, so I mean, yeah. And then the last two books that I want to read this year, I mean, again, I need to read my whole TBR, but the ones that's like top priority, I guess you could say, is Legendborn. This is another one. I also, of course, Bloodmarked. Is that what it's called? Bloodmarked? Don't quote me. I don't forgot what the second book is called, but I need to read that too. But of course I can't do that until I read the first one. And yeah, so I actually ended up, don't judge me, but I did buy this, actually the Kindle version of this, because I read a little bit of this when I was like, you know, I was trying to read it and then I felt stupid. I was like, oh no, I'm stupid. So I just feel like I read better and faster on my Kindle. So I was like, but Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, I definitely need to get to and finish this year. Then the last book that I have here is going to be Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I really just want to get into a Cassandra Clare book, okay? I've never read any of her books, but her books be looking hella thick, and I don't know, it's something about reading thick books that make me feel really smart about myself, like really good about myself, and they make me feel like a lot smarter than I actually am. So yes, and as you can see, all the books that I pretty much mentioned I really want to get into this year are fantasy of some sort, like romance fantasy or fantasy romance. Yeah, like I said, you girls in her fantasy era. And I might already have the third book in the series. I don't have the second book for some reason. I skipped. I got the first and the third book. I need the second book, obviously, but I really want to get into this book because I've heard also amazing things about this series. So yeah, you guys, that was pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This again was my first challenge ever. I don't know, I had fun answering these questions. I mean, I feel like what I realized when I was looking at my reading journal, your girl just read like a lot of manga series, and I reread a lot of manga series because I was currently like doing a reading challenge where I had to read a certain amount of books, and so I call myself finessing the game as rereading manga series I've already read. So that's pretty much like what consists of like all the books I've pretty much read this year so far. I have read a total of 68 books, and my goal I think was like 100. Yeah, I think it was 100. I think I had made like 120 or something like that, but then I put it down to 100 because I didn't think I could do it. But I'm at 67 books, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get to it. So what really beat me up was the month of April, because like a lot of stuff happened in my personal life that month, and also I got into a reading slump because I had read like 32 books in February. So yeah. But yeah, you guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and also make sure you turn your notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a video. And with all that being said, I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!